Hello, and welcome to another episode of the How to Scale Business podcast. My name is Hector Santiesteban, and I am your host for today. I'm joined by a very special guest, Mr. Jay Berkowitz. He is someone who is the founder of the 10 Golden Rules, someone who has really put out a ton of great content on scaling, growing a business, and we'll get into all sorts of stuff today. So, Jay, welcome to the show.
Hector, thanks for having me. This is great.
What I love about having people like you is that you've done it for yourself, you've grown a business, but then you've also had the chance to work with a lot of clients and helping them to go through a lot of the same challenges that our listeners are going through. So I'd love for you to share some of the sort of the highlights and the key stops along the way in your career, and then a little bit about what you're doing with your clients now.
Yeah, well, I guess the career is I got great training working for great companies. I started working in ad agencies. My first client was McDonald's restaurant, and skipped a couple jobs, and I became a director of marketing for McDonald's and had a $40 million ad budget. And we did, TV commercials and billboards and radio and Happy Meals. And you learned really great marketing from a ton of great marketers. And I also worked for Coca-Cola as a director of marketing. And then I saw the internet company coming. I took a job with Sprint as a director of marketing. And my job was to get people their first emails and get companies their first websites. And then I moved to Florida to a startup.com called ediets.com. And if you think back to 2002, Google was in beta, Mark Zuckerberg was in high school, and we were doing $60 million worth of online diet sales at this online diet company. And I got a tremendous amount of experience doing real internet marketing before most of the world had experienced anything like it. Most people were discovering Google, as a search engine, and we were spending $40 million running banner ads on AOL, Yahoo, and MSN to bring 100,000 people a day to this website. So I got tremendous experience ahead of the market, really ahead of the entire business world. And I wrote a presentation and a book called The 10 Golden Rules of Online Marketing. And that became my company name and my blog and my podcast and my webinar still to this day.
Yeah, it's amazing. When I tell people that I've been doing podcasts for almost a decade, they're kind of shocked because, a decade ago, most people didn't know what a podcast was. And when I run into someone who has been, sort of in the internet space since the beginning, I'm always curious to ask, is there anything that you think is different? And is there anything that's still the same, from when you were getting into this industry?
Well, the 10 Golden Rules is probably a good place to start. And a few of the basic strategies that I presented as the rules or the 10 commandments of the internet. The first one is there are no rules. And that was a little bit tongue in cheek, but really what we were explaining was I came from traditional marketing, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Sprint. And we used to run by sort of a set of operating principles or rules. Like, if you ran a TV commercial and 35% of the audience saw it 5 times or more, and that was 350 GRPs, that would be enough to create awareness. And we kind of operated by these rules, and it sort of kind of worked. And so we used those operating principles. If you had a billboard, you could only have 5 words, and they had to be this big, for people to see it going 50 miles an hour. And those were our rules or operating principles. But when we got into internet marketing and even direct marketing, you could validate with numbers and measurement. And so really the genesis of there are no rules is that we operated with results. We didn't operate on theories or rules or principles. And we could, at eDiets, it was unbelievable. We'd have 100,000 people a day coming to the website. And I could A/B test. So 50% of the people would see the standard website that was kind of blue and green. 50% could see a website. We did a new website that was pink in color because 92% of our audience was female. And guess which one won?
The pink one.
The blue website. However, there was tremendous learning because on this new pink funnel we'd created, it captured more email addresses. So we didn't get more sales, but we got more people opting in to get our newsletter. So we did a new version of the blue site. So we did an A/B test, then we did an AC test with a new version of the blue site with the same email capture from the pink variant, and we had a new winner. So we learned that with data, we could make business decisions that could move the business forward.
Yeah, I imagine the speed of these decisions is just getting quicker and quicker, right? Because in order to test it before the internet, you had to, do all these things. The time that was required, it just seems to be compressed. And I would imagine that with AI and automation and all that sort of stuff, those things are getting compressed even more. Where business owners, I don't know if required is the right word, but they're at least enabled to make these decisions quicker, which I think is ultimately going to be better for their business.
Yes and no. I would be very cautious in making decisions quickly because you still need statistical significance. And I think far too many people make decisions very, very quickly. And we made that mistake sometimes at eDiets, but we came to a conclusion. We needed 1,000 purchases on either the A or the B side to make a decision. So that was a lot of visits to the website to be precise. So we would generally let our tests run about a week. A lot of times people pull the trigger far too quickly.
Yeah. Are there any other rules that we went in the first one, which is, there are no rules. So I think that gives us a good a good idea of what's to come. But are there any other ones that you think stand out for someone who is maybe looking at digital marketing or internet marketing from the outside and thinking that's something that is not for us or not, how might they start to come closer to being able to utilize some of these things?
One of the rules that might have died, and a lot of people predicted its death, is subscription models survive. And for many years, people have predicted the death of email. But email is still very powerful. So if you get a large subscriber list, and that could be emails, it could be physical mails, it could be Facebook subscribers, Twitter. So if you get subscribers to an email newsletter, you get physical addresses, you get lots of social media followers, that can be incredibly powerful. So building your followers, building your subscribers, golden rule subscribers model is very, very important.
It's something that I think, especially when people look at today, they look at social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube is becoming this thing. And underneath all of that, email has still been this constant, right? This ability to reach people. And so some of these newer, shinier objects are perhaps exactly that, but some of the time-tested principles sort of remain the same.
Yeah, 1,000%. So, building your lists, whatever the format, is super powerful. YouTube subscribers is awesome. Like we've had over 1 million views on our 10 Golden Rules YouTube channel. And that's been so valuable for our business because every week I have people coming to me and saying, Jay, I watched your webinar on the 6 parts of Google or the 10 Golden Rules of online marketing, and you get it. And I'd like to hire you because our agency doesn't get it. So that's been super great for us.
Yeah, also the ability that I think what people don't realize is the amount of trust and relationships that can be built when you leverage these things. We work with a lot of companies that they built their business sort of belly to belly, and it's this really interesting term that I don't know. I always think it's kind of funny when thinking of two people like touching bellies, but that's sort of what they had to do. They had to shake hands. They had to be in person with people or on calls with people. And sort of what you're saying is that you're able to scale that impact, scale that relationship, and there are people that are out there consuming your content, going further down your pipeline without you actually needing to be there.
Yeah, I mean, we can get really far with digital, but belly to belly is still great. Matter of fact, one of our best vehicles is trade shows, and we work mostly with law firms. We do internet marketing and growth strategies for law firms, and when I can speak and we can have a trade show booth at one of the legal community events, it's incredibly powerful for our firm.
Yeah, it seems like lawyers specifically, I've had a number of great conversations with lawyers, and one of them stood out to me. They said, I'd rather spend $10,000 on a podcast than I would on a billboard or a bench ad. And for me, I was just like, I had not previously thought of lawyers as someone who would, be in sort of the content game. But it seems like the relationship that they need, the relationship that's being, created through this different marketing, it doesn't matter how it's happening. It's just that they're building trust and they're building a relationship, with this business.
Yeah, definitely in some of the practice areas, that could be super powerful. I still believe like a lot of our clients are consumer facing, like personal injury lawyers, family lawyers, estate lawyers. Google is still the king and the queen and the court jester as far as I'm concerned. But a podcast could be a great vehicle to supplement once you got Google the 6 parts of Google I talked about covered off.
Yeah, one of your rules is the 4 Ps, and I remember learning this in my college marketing class, and this was about the extent of what stuck with me from that degree. But also remember thinking, oh, this is something that it's changing, it's evolving, and I'm coming around and going, I don't know, even with technology, even with AI and everything, it's still fundamental to marketing a business. And so I'm curious to nuance the question. How has that? If you want to explain a little bit about the 4 Ps, and then how does someone apply that in a 2025 sort of?
Yeah, great question. The 4 Ps are product, place, price, and promotion. And the golden rule was remember the 4 Ps. And so product, like a lot of times we want to think about the internet as a product, and like Google, it has all these products and they have product managers. So like there's a product manager for search, a product manager for YouTube, product manager for the new AI overviews. So you want to think about your website and your internet marketing program the same way. When am I bringing out a new section of my website? Who's the innovation and research and development manager for my internet marketing? What new products can I feature on my website? So the first P is product. The second is place. And, we used to joke that location was the most important part of marketing, and it still is in retail. But on the internet, I would argue that the most important location is coming up for a search for your business in your city, or like for our clients, it's personal injury lawyer near me. And so you've got to be optimized for search, and in particular, those Google Map search results, because a lot of people want to do business with someone they can reach out and touch, someone nearby. And of course, if it's a shoe repair or a pizza place, but even if it's a law firm, and they may never even go into the law firm, they may sign up online, they may call them, they may sign up a DocuSign, they may never meet the lawyer in person. But the reality is place, location, and optimizing your local search is super valuable. The next one is price. And typically, we expect a lower price on the internet than we do online. And price is really, discombobulated retail. And you can even go into a retail store, take a picture of a product with the Amazon app, see how much it is on Amazon. It's probably less. Right there in the store, you could ship it to yourself at home. You don't have to carry it home. And so price has certainly been a killer for retail. And then the final one is promotion. And so, promoting yourself, building your brand, promotion is still mission critical for websites and online products as it is for real world products.
Yeah, I think there was a idea that for a while, people could avoid, you know, having a website, and then that came around, and they go, well, everyone needs a website, and then social media sort of had that evolution, and it's starting to happen that there's a need to create something to reach out and touch your prospects, because if you are not, it's likely that your competitors are. And with AI and just the ease of which people can create that messaging, whether it's videos or images or whatever it is, it seems like businesses that aren't utilizing that opportunity to connect with their community are losing out to newer startups or people with less experience. And it just seems like your emphasis on being in the right place and being noticed is never going to really go away.
Yeah, well, we talked about it earlier, and I think YouTube is the greatest new old product that there is, because YouTube seems to have hit a whole new level. And I think what I call it is they sort of TikTok their algorithm. So on TikTok, you typically see videos about subjects you're interested in based on previous TikTok videos you've watched. And YouTube's been very successful in replicating that. So now I mostly see videos about marketing, internet marketing, business, the Winnipeg Jets hockey club, tennis training videos, live rock music. All the videos that I watched before, they show me more videos in the genres that I'm interested in and the categories I'm interested in. So I think YouTube's had a huge renaissance, and people kind of take YouTube for granted. Well, YouTube by far and away is the second biggest website in the world. I think Google has, somewhere in the neighborhood of 70 or 80 million views a day. YouTube's like 42 million, and Facebook's 9 million. So by a wide margin, Google and YouTube are the big dogs, and YouTube's way more important in terms of business opportunity than Facebook, TikTok, and even ChatGPT, which is growing. It's in fifth place, far behind YouTube. So if you want a good business strategy for today, develop YouTube videos. And I always say just answer questions. So whatever it is, if you're a plumber, if you're a internet marketer, if you're an attorney, answer the kind of questions that people would be asking on Google and YouTube and put it in the form of a question. So, like we always say to our attorneys to do a video, and we coach them through this. One of the questions we're getting asked all the time is, what do I do if I get hit by an Uber? Who's going to pay for my medical and my car repairs? And then they go on to explain that answer. So if you answer questions on YouTube and then use that video on your blog and then use it on all your social media, it's very cost effective, and you're setting yourself up for success in the new AI search, both ChatGPT and even more importantly, the Google AI overviews. Google is showing an AI result at the top of every search. And essentially, these are question and answer, right? You ask a question, the AI overview answers the question, and then they show the websites they used to compile the answer, and they show lots and lots of videos. So I'd say answering questions on YouTube, answering questions on your website is the new AEO, or answer engine optimization, which is an evolution from search engine optimization.
It's a great sort of segue. I mean, the eighth rule is use the right tactic, and I think you just mentioned, some great things. Which we're recording this in November of 2025. A lot of that, the strategy of that is going to be evergreen and timeless. But we might look up in 6 months or 3 months or however many months, and the platforms or the tactics might change. Are there any other right tactics for this moment, or are there any things that you are bullish on with regards to reaching new people?
I mean, I think I just hit the two biggest. Like, one is set yourself up for success with AI. And the AI search we talked about is the biggest thing happening in my world. And video is probably the most significant tactic. But I would say getting into AI in your business is probably the next most important thing. And, you know, if you haven't touched the basics, like using ChatGPT just to ask and answer questions, and anything you do from, writing a job description to creating a business plan to writing an article. I was asked to write an article for a legal publication. And I simply copied and pasted the transcript of one of my webinars, and I gave a really good prompt. And a really good prompt is the format of CRIT. And this is Jeff Woods wrote a great book called The AI Driven Leader, and he talks about CRIT.
I'd say go back and listen to the episode with Jeff. Yeah,
Oh, you did too?
I'd
That's
call him
awesome.
a better friend than he probably thinks of me, but he's
Yeah.
definitely a mentor of mine.
So
And great guy.
context, role, interview, and task. So Jeff coaches, write a great prompt. The context. I want you to write an article for this legal magazine for Jay Berkowitz, founder of 10 Golden Rules. Role. You're a great business writer, and you're very good at summarizing content from other sources. Interview. Ask me 3 clarifying questions, one at a time, before completing your task. Task. Write an 800-word article based on the download of the webinar I provided. Boom. It's going to be 95% correct. I get those articles done in 10 minutes. Used to take me 4 hours.
Yeah, I love it. I've just started playing around. We do a lot of content, a lot of media, and so even the ability to edit videos through text has been really a game changer for me, because I come from the world where you had to manually do it, but now you can, in the same way that you can ask it to write a newsletter, or I recently created a sales page, through AI prompts, and it took a lot of massaging, but it was something that we could do a lot quicker, and that I was capable of doing without a designer, or an advanced video editor. And so the tools are evolving.
Yeah, so that's great advice. Get into the basics, which is just do it. Pick a couple products like a Chat GPT or a video editor, or Google Gemini is great at creating images today. And I created a funny image of my dog going to the fridge, and I put that up on my Zoom meeting just to say, hey, I'll be right back. So It's unbelievable. With a simple prompt, you can get exactly what you want in terms of a graphic visual.
One of the other ones that we didn't really cover, which I thought would be interesting, is creating a unique value proposition. A lot of, especially with lawyers, or we kind of work with service providers that otherwise see themselves as like commodities, and so being unique or creating a what you call a UVP, I think is really critical for businesses of the sorts, probably any business. But talk to me a little bit about your perspective and how you can take businesses like a lawyer or personal injury lawyer and create that UVP for them.
Well, golden rule number 3 is create a UVP, or a unique value proposition. And some people confuse that with, like a unique selling proposition. A unique selling proposition is what makes your company unique or different from other companies. But the concept of the UVP was something on your website that would create a higher conversion rate. A lot of great UVPs through the years are free consultations, or, even we did some analysis on the 10 Golden Rules website. And I thought, most people would come and look up, our services or our products, or how to do SEO, or get information about Jay Berkowitz. But most people just wanted to see the 10 Golden Rules. So we made a download of the 10 Golden Rules available free on the website. And you could purchase the book, The 10 Golden Rules, on the website. So a UVP is something free that's going to get people engaged at a higher level when they come to your website.
Yeah, so critical. This has been a really fascinating conversation. There's a few of the rules left that we haven't touched on. I think one of them is, if you build it, they won't just come, which I think is a great one, because I've seen so many people do that, especially in the podcasting space. Talk to me about that one and why you decided that was a rule.
Well, the basic principle there is you can't just put up a website without doing some marketing, without doing some SEO to get people to the website. So if you build it, they won't just come. And that's true for your website and for your business. You're going to have some kind of methodology to get, sales and marketing to generate traffic to your website and then convert that traffic into business. We've even developed a couple proprietary conversion strategies. We have a proprietary AI bot that we wrote that's based on 5 of the world's greatest intake trainers. And now every phone call our law firms get, we provide coaching to their intake teams on what they did right, what they could have done better, how they could have closed and converted a sale better on that website. We built another proprietary technology that is called TGR Boomerang. TGR is short for 10 Golden Rules, like the Australian toy, the boomerang. You throw it out and it comes back. So when people come to your website and they fill out a form, a lot of people don't check their email like twice a day. Well, those forms, those leads degrade in about 5 minutes. So TGR Boomerang grabs the name and information, immediately texts it to the intake team, or can even put it into a dialer so you can call those people right back. Another way it grabs information is if people call your phone number and they hear the Google recording, a lot of people hang up, about 10%. We grab the phone number, again, text it to the intake team, they can call that person right back. So there's a lot of new technology that is part of sales, part of conversion, part of operations.
This is great. I think we're going to have to go back and have the listeners listen to this a couple of times to digest all this stuff. If people are feeling overwhelmed, or they're feeling like they don't know necessarily where to start, how do you sort of help guide them through that if they're looking at this and seeing a large mountain to climb?
Yeah. Well, the best never rest is test. And that's really about, you've got to work hard at this stuff. It's not easy. But lead the trends was a rule that I wrote based on really new things coming out. And you really have about 6 months. If it's going to be a winner, you've got about 6 months to take advantage of it before everybody else in the marketplace, all your competitors, are doing it. So when the local service ads first became available for plumbers and locksmiths and garage door repair, once Google had 3 advertisers verified by Google, they appeared right at the very top of Google. And it was a click to call, and you only pay per lead. Then 3 years ago, this came along for attorneys, and we got our attorneys approved right away in their marketplace. And so they were at the very top of Google. They only paid for a phone call. It was a fantastic program. And, we got one of our lawyers was the fifth lawyer approved in New York. Very soon, a couple months later, there was 50 lawyers. And today there's probably 50,000 lawyers vying for those top positions. So what I do is I have my own personal rule of three. So when I hear about something the first time, I take note of it. If I hear about it maybe on a podcast, I'm like, hey, I got to check this out. And then if I hear about it on a third time, then to me, that's real enough that I better figure this out for my clients or for myself. So a lot of products I'll test on I created the first blog for 10 Golden Rules, the first podcast, the first YouTube videos, and then we rolled those for our clients. The local service ads aren't available for marketing companies. So as soon as they were available for our attorneys, we figured out how to get them screened or approved in this Google program. Used to take about 2 months, and then we could start running the ads. And then the next step was figuring out, okay, how do we optimize this program? Because it's a brand new, unique algorithm that's different than SEO, different than pay-per-click. And we were able to figure out what we called our secret algorithm to get our lawyers to the very top of the local service ads.
Yeah. It's testing and trying, and then sort of going all in, when you see it, which I think is huge. I've got 2 more questions for you. The first, Jay, is if people want to get more involved with you, find out about the agency or the 10 Golden Rules, where's the best place for people to go?
Yeah, well, 10goldenrules.com or Jay Berkowitz on any of the social media. I generally beat, there's a couple of really prominent Jay Berkowitzes, but luckily enough, I beat them to the punch on, LinkedIn and Twitter and whatever new social media come along. And probably one of the best places, if you like this kind of learning, training, education, is on our YouTube channel. We have over 1 million views on the 10 Golden Rules YouTube channel. And we have tons of content about SEO, even things like the EOS, the operating system we use, personal development, personal branding, rainmaking, how to build your business. So there's tons of great content on the 10 Golden Rules YouTube channel as well.
We'll link all those up in the show notes for you guys, as always. And we kind of touched on it, but I'll throw it to you. I asked this question to all of our guests and give you the last word. But in your opinion, Jay, what is the secret to scaling a business?
Well, I think the secret to scaling a business is to run it like a business. Particularly if you're past that startup stage, you're past that freelance stage, now you've got to start operating like a business. I recommend a book called E-Myth. And E-Myth is the entrepreneur's myth. It's not the electronic myth. And it's like a 35-year-old book, but it talks about developing systems for your business. So for everything we do, whether it's creating a website or doing keyword research or optimizing a Google Maps, Google Business Profile, we develop a checklist and a Loom video and a training module for our employees. And then if we figure out a better way to do it, we update the SOP or the standard operating procedures. So running your business like a business, we also use the EOS operating system, the entrepreneurial operating system. And so we have a system, we have L10 meetings, we have rocks, we have quarterly planning meetings, we have a leadership team. And so we operate like a real business. When you get past like 8 or 10 people, you can't supervise more than 7 people, I think they say. So at that next level, you've got to really become a business with a leadership team and leadership operating principles that everybody knows the rules and everybody can follow along.